All right, Sean Patel here with Stephen Breadman Edwards, one of the sharpest minds in the game, one of the best trainers in the game, and got a big assignment this Saturday here in Brooklyn. J-Rock, former champion of the 154-pound division, going up against Yoennis Tellez, talented Cuban guy, and you know the odds, I'm sure. J-Rock's a big underdog, plus 750, whatever you want to call it, but what are the odds makers overlooking with your guy J-Rock?
They're not overlooking anything. That's how they feel. And Julian, he came on some tough times, and so that's the odds that they putting out. But can't win a fight on paper. You got to win it in the ring. And I know what they're thinking, and I know what the train of thought is going into this fight. You get an older fighter. Julian's 34. He's a little inactive. He's coming back to 54. So the science of matchmaking kind of, makes it look like that this guy is going to, do a job on Julian. But that's why we got to fight the fights. I'm confident that he'll be okay with this guy.
Gervonta Davis, I remember you were very confident. He was basically at the same type of underdog Julian is heading into the fight, and he wound up winning that fight in an upset. Are you feeling the same kind of vibe heading into this fight?
I just, sometimes I think Tellez is a good fighter, but sometimes we put guys on pedestals a little bit too early before we see what kind of adjustments they can make, before we see how they react to not knowing if they win in the fight. It's a hell of a thing to go back to the corner after, say, the 4th round and say to your coach, am I winning? Because usually when you're coming up, you don't face that. It's a hell of a thing for a guy to be trying to win after 6 or 7 rounds, still trying to win. It's a hell of a thing to go tit for tat in a 50-50 fight and not let the anxiety get to you. It's a lot more to boxing than just boxing, is being able to overcome certain things which you experience in the ring. And Tellez is a really good fighter, but we just don't know anything about him. They were trying to give a coronation to Hamza Shariz last week, and he wasn't ready for it. That's what really happened, but nobody wants to say it because you can't really, it's like if you criticize him, it's going to look like you hate him, but that's really what happened. That guy had the red carpet rolled out for him.
Oh, yeah.
He had the red carpet rolled out for him in a division that people look at as lackluster. He was the favorite in the championship fight, which is very rare for a guy who's never won a world title. Mm-hmm. Everything favored him over there, and he still couldn't pull the fight off. And I'm not criticizing him, but that's what happens sometimes when you put a guy in a position that he really hasn't earned yet. You're just kind of just doing it on projection. Because I picked Hamza Shariz to win.
Me too.
I really did. I think Adames is a solid fighter, but I don't look at him as an axe murderer. They try to make him out to be the Gerald McClellan, Nigel Benn, just hard punching, vicious guy. I don't see that with him. I just see a solid, strong guy. I don't see that A+ killer, Gennady Golovkin kind of guy. So I thought that Hamza Shariz would take him in deep waters with his his lean muscles. I thought his stamina would be better. And he just kind of, after the 5th or 6th round, he just kind of it seemed like, I know they say he was hurt, but I thought he was outboxing him and he was doing good. And he kind of just
froze up a little bit.
But he just like I don't know what happened. It was strange. I was watching the fight. I'm like, he's doing good with his jab. He's stepping around him. He's making the Adames reach. If he keeps this up, Adames will get frustrated and get tired, and he should be able to do something really. And then he just came out. I think it was for the 5th or 6th round and just shelled up and just started letting Adames just hit him. I don't know what happened. I felt bad for his coach because Ricky Funes is a good guy, man. But they could say he was injured, but he was throwing his left hand at the last. He still was throwing his left hand. At a certain point, you got to be professional enough to win the fight, and I feel like that's what happens a lot in boxing. People, the powers that be, all the time, oftentimes don't want to invest in fighters, so they move them a little bit faster than they need to be moved. And I'm not saying that happened with him specifically because he had over 20-something fights, but the world was acting like we were going to see the next coming of Carlos Monzon. And I don't want to get on the young kid, but he laid the egg, am I right? He laid that's
down
kinda,
the stretch. With
down
the fight
stretch.
on the line in the
Yeah,
championship
kinda laid
rounds,
the
he
egg.
laid an egg, yeah.
You know, for the situation that he was in, he laid the egg, in my opinion.
He was probably going to get Canelo and be
Yes,
moved up to 68 if he won that fight.
Huge situation,
Right,
exactly, with
right.
everything that was around him. And I'm sure he didn't ask for all of this, but that's what happens when that happens. When you put a guy in a position that he really hasn't earned, you got to live up to that hype. And I think that Tellez is really good, but we have not seen him through anything yet. It was the same thing with Elijah Garcia. He was 16-0. He was ranked #1 by the WBA. He's from a nice city in Phoenix where there's a good Latino market and stuff. But what has he done to beat all of that? So if you ask me,
It was the Amilcar Vidal win, but it was like, who was Amilcar Vidal?
Yeah.
Respectfully.
And what did Karan do? Win 8 or 9 rounds from him? So when I see these fights, it's not that I don't, I think I'm the best coach or whatever, or that the guys are overrated. I just always look at it like, why does people put a guy on a pedestal before he's earned? I know what a killer looks like.
Yeah.
Gennady Golovkin in 2012, 2013, that's a killer. Monster Inoue, that's a killer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know what killers look like. These guys that they calling killers is just really good fighters, man. That's what Thomas Hearns is, a killer. Joe McClellan is a killer.
It was good fighters, but they're not killers like this guy.
Yes, I'm looking at Elijah Garcia and Tellez, and I'm like, they good fighters. They can punch hard. They got good people behind them. They got good resources. They're not axe murderers. They're not serial killers. Beaterbev is a killer.
Yeah.
That's a killer. I think we kind of getting it wrong a little bit. And I don't know if it's the media or the promoters or whatever, and I'm not like criticizing anybody, but I don't look at that like that. David Benavidez, that's a killer. He's a killer. He has fighting spirit. He got hurt in that fight with Morrell, and within a second he's attacking him. That's a killer.
Yeah.
I don't.
Abdullah Mason getting dropped, getting up.
Yes, he got it.
Traded right.
Yes.
Looks like a young killer. We don't know.
Looks like one. We got to
like
see
one.
more.
Right.
But yes, he responded well to those moments. But I would like to see more from him. And I'm not saying these guys is not killers. I'm saying they haven't proven to be killers. How you gonna be a killer and you ain't killed nobody? You know what I'm saying? You got to do killer things to be a killer. And Tellez is good. He's real good. But how we know what he is? He's 9-0. For the old man the last time out. We don't know what he is yet. So it's Julian's job for us to find out what he is. And if we go in there and smoke Julian, I say, okay, But
on his end, that's what we're here to find out, right? How, like he's got flashy talent, but does he got substance?
This is an audition for him.
Right.
That's what it is.
Against the former champion of this division.
Against the former champion.
Yeah.
They want to build his name up. They're fast tracking him. And all I'm saying is we got to see. I don't believe in boogeymen, man. From where we from, I don't believe in all of that. I don't believe in the boogeyman. I believe you got to prove it. And Julian had a good camp. He's very confident. I see some things in Tellez that we could take advantage of. And I believe it's going to be a violent shootout. I believe that Julian will either win the fight real early or late. That's how I look at the fight. But I wouldn't be surprised if the fight went 2 or 3 rounds. One thing about Julian, he's a little hot and cold. He's had some great moments. He has some tough moments. But he don't lack heart. Nobody's ever said he was gutless. And that matters when you're dealing with a guy where everything is against you. That matters when everybody is looking at you like you're about to get eaten alive, like there's gonna be some carnage on the floor. That matters with your self-esteem and what your heart is like, because you gotta push past that moment. They called Tim Tszyu a killer, right? They did. They called Tim Tszyu a killer, right? And I think Tim Tszyu is an excellent fighter. But every time he come over here, he looked funny. Terrell Gausha knocked him down and said, okay, well.
He still got the job done.
Still got the job done.
Right.
Then Sebastian Fundora beat him.
Cut.
I thought he probably won. It was the cut. And then Bakram just stood up to him. That's what he did. Just stood up to him. And didn't buy into what everybody was saying. I'm just telling you that We got to be careful with that. You can't allow nobody can tell me that you can kick my ass. You got to kick my ass. I'm not going to just believe it because you say it. You know what I mean? So, and Julian, he don't lack heart. I'm just telling you. And that guy is going to have to prove everything that he say that he is. That's what he's going to have to do. And I just believe that with fair judges and fair officials and fair circumstances, I believe we're going to be okay in this fight. But I got to see how he deal with a guy that know what he's doing. And I got to see if he can navigate the rounds through that. I got to see if he can adjust to a guy just not succumbing to his, to his pressure and things like that. I got to see. From what I see on video, he's good. But the guys he's fighting, even if you guys say that Julian is past his best, still the best fighter that Tellez has ever fought by far.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to see. I tell you one thing, Julian's in shape. And
yeah, because I was going to ask, what have you seen from Julian?
He's in shape.
In the gym that makes you believe he's about to perform.
He's in. You know what? It's not so much in the gym, because you can see things in the gym and then they don't show up in the fight, and vice versa. Even though I'm big on having a good camp, his camp was very good. Don't get me wrong, but the thing that gives me the most confidence in this fight is that Julian doesn't have to fight. That's the thing. He owns about 18, 19 properties. He has a good amount of money in the bank. He don't have to fight, right? And I probably shouldn't say this, but I told Julian to retire after the Dominance fight. Not because he couldn't fight no more, because I knew the system of boxing would be against him. There was a judge that had a Dominance up 8 rounds to 0. Regardless of what you thought about that fight, there wasn't a shutout, right? Then the referee did that, and I'm like, they're going to try to use you up, use you for your name. You're going to have to take fights on short notice. I warned him about everything that was going to happen. And I wanted to see where he was at. And he said, that's all right. I'm not going out like that.
Right.
So this is just totally strict motivation. Joe. Yep.
What's up, Jay?
And
well, there he is. Man,
this is strict motivation. And his motivation just comes from just leaving food on the table. He wants to overcome, some of the moments that he had that he's not proud of, that he don't like. And that's a hell of a motivation, man. It really is. So he worked his butt off in this camp, and I'm actually proud of him because he's fighting when he don't have to fight. A lot of times guys be in this situation, they fight because they have to, and you get a different version. You're going to get a version of him that's full of, regardless of what the outcome is, you're going to get a version of him that's full of self-esteem. A lot of fighters don't have self-esteem, and they come in and they lay down in these moments, or they find reasons to not win. We're not doing that. We're coming to fight, and this guy going to have to beat the shit out of Julian and knock him out or kill him to beat him, because we're not going to just give it to him. We're not going to just lay down for him. And that matters in a fight. You know what I mean? It just does. You see so many guys that just don't have that. Tim Bradley made it to the Hall of Fame by just never giving up.
Right.
That's his best quality. Tim is fast, not the fastest. He's strong, he's not the strongest. He's
skilled, but not the most skilled.
But he makes you work for everything in every round. Carl Froch is the same way. It's not special about him except his will to win.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I watch these guys all the time. I'm not gonna say no names, but these guys give it up, man. They be in fights, they stop trying to win, or they get hurt and they get knocked down and they act like they're more hurt than what they really are, and they don't get up, or they let the referee stop it. You know what I mean? The referee say, you okay? They start blinking and say, I can't see. Well, what do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna try to stop the fight then. I watch it all the time. Fighters have figured out clever ways to quit without actually saying I quit. Clever ways to capitulate and give up. I'm telling you that Julian ain't part of that. He gonna fucking fight. And we're gonna find out what this guy is made of, and we're gonna find out if he can adjust to a lot of things that we doing. And if he win, you tip your hat to him and you shake his hand. That's it. It ain't no, it's part of life. But I'm confident because my fighters got self-esteem. We don't buy into that bullshit. If we bought into that, Karan Davis' dad wouldn't have bet 10 grand on him at 10-1 odds versus Elijah Garcia, because everybody thought we was gonna get steamrolled. And I'm looking at him on video like, what the fuck is y'all looking at? God damn, y'all really believe that? He can fight, but he a little slow. He easy to hit with right hands. And this kid right here, I'm not gonna say what I saw, but I look at him and like, he's good. He could punch a little bit.
Athletic.
He's pretty athletic. He's not as good as Morrell.
Right.
He's not Rigondeaux.
Right.
He's not Lara.
Right.
Like, just because he's Cuban, that doesn't mean he's gonna be them. You know what I mean? He's athletic. He looks like he can punch a little bit. He ain't hard to hit. You know what I mean? He's not slick. You know what I mean? He does everything in one speed. So, yeah, he can fight, but I don't look at him as like this world beater guy that, like, I don't think he's better than Adames. I don't. But we'll see. Let's fight. That's all. Listen, you can't win a fight that you don't take. You know? So I'm not one of them trainers that get into all of that kind of stuff and let the media or the promotion or anybody scare me into believing something. I don't fall into that line of thinking. So come Saturday night, we're gonna find out. I'm very confident though.